All right. Phew. Got this ready in the nick of time. What's up, Neil? Hey, Yanni. Yanni, I don't know what that emoji is, but it has Crockett Red count. Yeah. Michael, Timmy, how's everybody doing? Can everybody hear me? What's up?
How goes it, man?
Hey, man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic.
All right.
What's up, Keith, Crypto, Gail? How you guys doing? Dave, you guys have different names on YouTube, so I might not recognize all of you right off the bat, but I know Keith is Captain Crunch. Moongod, how are you doing? Did I already ask you that?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting my keybinds down so I can mute myself when I have my my little rare coughing fits. But yeah, we'll be good.
Awesome. Well, this is my first time using StreamYard. So I literally, like, right before I started this stream, I couldn't find, because Greek very kindly allowed me to join his team, so I get to use his account and whatnot, and I could not find how to log back into his team because I had somehow logged out. But Yanni, thank you very much. He says audio is good, fantastic. There's the camera.
Skills like a champ there, boss. Skills like a champ. Absolute faith in you is what I've got. Never doubted for a moment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. After months and months and months of abject failure, I appreciate that. Never gave up on me. All right. Well, let me see.
I mean, I figure we can probably just jump right into it. Like, I don't think there's any real reason for us to like wait for, 10, 15, 20 minutes. We already know that Mitch isn't going to be here, so we're just going to the entire thing. I want everybody to post in like the one Discord and Prisma Discord, just, how awesome it is that we talked about the Prisma V2 launch and we got all the information and everything like that, just to mess with them a little bit, because it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think we can.
Hold on, let me mute myself.
Outside of that, I think we can probably just jump into it real quick and just go over like. By the way, I'm not too loud, too soft, or anything like that, right? We're good audio wise for me as well.
You sound perfect to me.
Cool, sounds great. So we closed out a few additional trades. With this most recent Ethereum spike, and oh, darn it. Well, there goes the surprise. All right. He's in here. Oh no. No. So we closed out a few trades. We have a very small amount that are kind of left at the end here. Kind of needing to pop up right at about 2,700. But we closed out quite a few trades for a total net profit of about $2,000 additional dollars.
Nice.
So we're almost like 100% out of this thing. We're hoping that we're going to be able to kind of push through, and within the next few days, we'll see it pop up over that little marker that we kind of need to hit, and then all funds 100% recuperated. I think right now we're short like this final trade, and that's it. To kind of close out everything and make sure we're 100% good to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, another $2,000 there. Don't have the percentages off the top of my head. But yeah, it brings us up from, I think it's like $93,100 something dollars to like 95 roughly, give or take just a little bit there. Callie's getting us some final numbers on that. We'll have the chart updated with those numbers as well within the next few days here. But yeah, very, very exciting situation to kind of, almost be fully out of this and, get back to business as usual. I am still going to stick with the time frame that we'll probably do an announcement for the launch and kind of when that's going to happen for the Prisma V2 next week. just because we want to kind of see how this final trade is going to play out. It's a relatively small trade, but it's, it's still one that's open. That's got to, cross off basically a couple of things. I think if memory serves, the total value on this final trade will probably be anywhere from like 700 to $1,000. So it's a very small amount compared to how much we've closed out in this trade, which I think is going to net us close to, I think, about $10,000 total is what this long-standing trade that we've been in, the short, the longs, the everything. So yeah, it's definitely been a little bit of a long haul here, but I mean, the returns on it are not bad in any way, shape, or form. And again, I could be wrong in those values. I'll have to go back and double check everything, but I think that's what it is. At least, it may end up being slightly more than that, but yeah, we're very happy with the way that this kind of played out. It's going to allow us to go back in and revise a couple of things so we don't run into stuff like this going forward. But yeah, the gains are like above and beyond what we could have expected here. I remember going into this, we were at about, if memory serves, we were at about like 25% or something like that going into this trade. And then it's just progressively gotten better and better as time has kind of gone on, where we've, had a couple of, very smart maneuvers by, the Prisma team and Callie and everybody kind of making some decisions on our side to, ensure that we're putting ourselves in the safe position, in the right position. I know a lot of questions were asked about like how long we're going to be in this, what kind of movements are we making to ensure that we're staying safe while we're in the trade. And, we kind of hit every single one of those markers. I know that we kind of went a little radio silent while I was basically dying from like 8 different diseases or whatever it was. But the entire team was still functioning exactly the way that we'd want. The one team has gone above and beyond, providing insight and information to people, even though I haven't been able to kind of, pop on and do these AMAs until, much more recently here these last 2 weeks. So they've really kind of held down the fort for us, and we couldn't have asked for anything more from an absolutely phenomenal team to partner with. And we're glad to, we're coming up on almost a year of partnership here. It's crazy. I think we kind of announced the partnership in something like May or something like that, if memory serves. April, May kind of area there. And yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. Couldn't be happier with anybody else though. So
yeah, man, it's been awesome. I have a question. We've already gone over 2 of the 3 things that Lucky wanted me to ask you.
sure.
So we went over the bot performance and made $2,000 in the last week. And you guys are fixing to close out completely the trade that you guys were in, which included the short as well as the long. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, so the long is effectively the only thing that we have open at this point. This is effectively the last quote unquote trade that we have on this. And the closeout price for that is roughly like 2,700 and like 50 cents or something like that. It's like, it's like right there. So it's a situation where I don't know if that's the exact number, but it's like roughly around there within like $1 or 2 net positive. So like it could be as high as like 2,702 or something like that, I think. But yeah, that is all that we've have left. We've closed out all of the shorts at this point in time during those big dips. And these final few trades or this final trade that we have is the last offset trade. And then it's back to business as usual, trading as usual. So yeah.
Would that mean just letting the bot do its thing, or would
Correct.
you guys still be okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the only reason why we manually came in and made any kind of adjustments throughout this process is because we had to open up the hedge position. Once that position is fully 100% closed out, we're just going to let the bot take back over and continue to trade and do its thing the way that it was doing before. That's part of our like risk and our management strategies in regards to ensure that we're not running into a situation where we're, gonna hit any kind of trouble. We have these steps in place to ensure that if we have to jump in and make adjustments on the fly, we can. And that was part of that huge overhaul that we did back in like, I think it was September or October of last year, where we
Mhm.
pulled the bot down for a month, and Callie like basically basically rebuilt it from the ground up,
Yeah.
with everything that we learned from the first iteration of the bot. This was part of the process that we wanted to add in and make sure that we had those stop gaps. So if something goes sideways or something goes the wrong direction, we can absolutely just jump right in and kind of like manually make sure, even if we have to take some lesser profits, work our way out of it. Because in our mind, there's nothing more important than the safety and security of the funds that we have. So if that means, instead of making, 40% on this final trade, we're making, 7% or 10% or something like that. We're going to step in to ensure that there's, very, very minimal risk in regards to the trades that we're making here. But yeah, the bot will go back to basically trading as usual.
Awesome.
Um, the next iteration of the bot, or I guess what we'll call the like the V3 version, will most likely have the AI learning that we've been expanding upon in it. Um,
Cool.
that is not going to be for probably, I would say, a couple of years. I know it sounds crazy to kind of say it like that, but we have so much testing we have to go through. We have so much learning that we have to, basically just let the bot run over and over and over again, basically nonstop for, days, weeks, months on end kind of thing, to
Mhm.
just kind of let it learn all of these things, examine the way that liquidity is basically fulfilled on the Bybit side of things, the way that the open and close orders are fulfilled on the Bybit side of things in comparison to how things kind of adjust. So it's going to be a long haul and a long process for that, but that's part of what we've kind of been expanding upon to ensure that as the technology, and AI usage grows, we're kind of, setting ourselves up to be at the forefront, and being able to integrate that, um, as seamlessly as we possibly can. So we're really excited for the, sorry, we're really excited for those next steps.
Awesome. Awesome. And so what can you tell us about about the relaunch of Prisma Token V2? Like what you say you're very close to having all the funds returned. And by the way, is that dog super loud that's barking right now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Dogs
It's my
exist in the
neighbor's
world.
dog. They
I,
ran
I
away.
I have kids, it's very likely they could just walk right in on me as well too. Um,
So
but
yeah,
yeah,
about the relaunch, like when well, there was someone asking in your Discord today if it's going to be like a stealth launch or if everyone's going to have a lot of advanced warning before it happens, and when you do think it will happen.
yeah. So I'll just say it is going to be, I guess, like a version of a stealth launch, um, where effectively, sorry, one second. Spent all day talking on the phone, and now it's like got a cough while I'm doing the AMA here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no issues all day, but now I'm just like hacking up a lung. It's great. Um, By the way, in case anyone's curious about my health, doing much better. No fever, COVID, everything like that is broke. We're on the other side of it. I'm out going for walks and stuff like that. So I'm good. No one needs to worry about anything there. But as for the Prisma V2 side of things and the relaunch process and the way that that'll work, we will absolutely be notifying the community with more than enough time for people to prepare funds. I would say probably with a minimum of like a 2 weeks notice. Um, so it would be a case where we'll let people know, hey, as like an example, let's say on the 20th, we're going to come out and just let people know that, hey, our relaunch is going to be the second week of March. That's the time frame that we're kind of talking about, where it's like we've got 1 week left of February, and then we've got 2 weeks in March, kind of thing, as an example of the way that that'll kind of turn out. We've got to make sure that all the team is going to be here, prepped, ready. We've got to re-go over all of our code, make sure everything is kind of up to where we like it. We're going to be reaching out to other teams here pretty soon, to kind of review our code to the best of their ability as well. Reach out to other developers that we know on our side over here to see if they can go over the code as well. We want to, just basically batten down the hatches, kind of shore up everything and make sure it's all good to go. So we're not going to be rushing that out the door. This won't be a situation where like, oh, we recovered the funds on Wednesday, we're launching on Thursday. It's not going to be anything like that. But when we do go into that launch process, it'll basically be effectively, I guess, as close to like a stealth fair launch, or however you want to kind of call that. I'm not sure the best way to word it. But we'll basically create the pair, put the liquidity in for it and everything, and then just let it do its own thing at that point in time. Make sure it's announced, make sure everybody knows. I would say most likely it'll probably be on the weekend, though. So it'll either be like a Saturday, Sunday kind of situation, because we want to make sure the team is all hands on deck in case something happens where it's like, oh, we need to be helping people get the contract address added to their wallets, that kind of stuff, just the normal normal launch processes we'd expect here, like making sure everything shows up correctly, making sure, prior to even the launch, everybody's got their airdrop tokens sent out to them, the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be a process. It won't be a like, hey, we're going to snap our finger and then in 5 minutes, we're launching kind of thing. So it's very much so going to be a process, and we'll walk you guys through it. I believe we're going to go through, and once we've got all the funds done, and give Callie like a day's worth of rest, because I've been keeping that man awake for God knows how many days in a row here as we've been excited about this Ethereum spike. So yeah, we're gonna give it plenty of time. People will be airdrop their tokens ahead of time as well too, and then we'll just kind of excuse me, we'll just kind of go from there. So yep.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So there'll be plenty of advance notice, shooting for mid-March. And
well, again, that was an example.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got to make sure that everything kind of lines up, with the team schedule over here. But I was just using that as an example. Like if we announced on the 20th that we were going to launch, it'll probably be like 2 to 3 weeks, which would put us like mid-March.
Okay.
But again, as for like specific days, it would be a case where we want to make sure that it's on the weekend for everybody to be able to do it. But we don't have a hard date or anything like that yet. So, yep.
The other question that I know our community was curious about is, when you guys launch, will the vaults be ready for 1, 2, and 3 and whatever else right away, or is that going to be like a little after you guys launch?
Yeah. Oh, there it goes. So it'll be a case where the vaults will most likely be opened up within a week or two after the launch of V2. And the reason for that is the payouts are not going to be every single day. It's going to be a case where the payouts are going to basically happen pretty much at the end of the month. And so it'll be a situation where there will be plenty of time. And if we launch, as like an example, using again like mid-March, like let's say we launch mid-March, our first payout would be at the end of April. So that would be the case there, or it'd be like beginning of May, depending on how days kind of line up there. It'll be either like March 31st or like April 1st kind of thing. So it's not going to be like this crazy swing where it's like, oh, it's 10 days later. Most likely it'll be, I would assume probably the last day of each month.
All
We
right.
may end up getting something in place where we adjust that to like maybe the 28th of each month. The only reason why I would say that is then we could just set up a contract for it and just let it run year round. But yeah, the vaults will be set up with people to have plenty of time to get into them. Nothing to worry about there. There
Cool.
will be plenty of advance notice before we do the first payout. And again, it'll be a case where you just need to effectively have your Prisma tokens in those specific vaults whenever we go to take the snapshot.
Cool. All right.
Yep, 1 second. I got one other thing. Sorry. I'm just.
Yep. Yeah, I just want to thank. I would just want to thank Greek. He's the one that helped me set this up. So, I think it was Tiger Dad that told me to try StreamYard. And Greek was the one that helped me. So, yeah, thank you very much, Greek.
Yeah, and so as for that process as well, too, the way that it'll effectively work is we'll let people know ahead of time when we're planning on doing the snapshot. So that way they can get in to their vaults with plenty of time. Like we'll have like a UTC posted time frame so everybody can like universal time code. Or I think that's the way that that's worded. But yeah, we'll we'll basically have that set up so people can see when the snapshot's going to be in place, so they can ensure that they're in the right vaults or wherever they need to be.
Gotcha. And for the Ray side, it's not just going to be the trading bot bringing in revenue. You're going to have some other things that you guys are working on.
Yeah.
Like how soon will that stuff be set up?
Oh yeah, that'll be set up before we even launch. Like we're
Okay.
not stopping that. So that'll be a situation where we'll have it do some other stuff with the early onset funds that we have here. And the team has got to kind of go over this a little bit and see what we want to do, because we'll have to effectively pull funds out of the bot. So what we may end up doing in this situation here is we may end up normalizing the bot down to about, I don't know, like 7 or 10K or something like that. After we pull the funds out to relaunch and, fund the liquidity pool. Let's say there's like 15K left. We may just end up leaving like 10K in the bot, just to kind of let it do its thing, kind of allow us to accrue a bit of funds faster, and then we'll spread out the 5K between various like liquidity pools, dollar cost average, stakings, stuff like that. We haven't 100% decided on that yet, but we'll announce what we're going to do beforehand. But with the way that the bot has been performing, we don't necessarily want to, like, hey, we're just going to even everything out between all the strategies that we plan on using here. And now the bot has $3,000 in it or something like that. It's like, that just isn't going to make the necessary returns. So it's like, we may have a slightly higher allocation into the bot within the first month here, or first few months. And then the part that'll be reinvested in the Ray from those returns will be balanced out between some of those other positions to kind of even out the risk a little bit more. And kind of have things in, our managed liquidity pools, as well as, like I said, staking, dollar cost average, stuff like that. Because, I mean, imagine we get into, I don't know, $1,000 of Ethereum, $1,000 of Bitcoin, and both of them explode up and go 100%, which we could see during the halving. That's huge returns right there for us anyways, just straight out the gate without even having to do much more. It's all stuff that we're kind of going through. Any suggestions that people have, we'd be more than happy to kind of review and go over ourselves as well too. We've got a couple that we have out there already that we're pretty happy with. Um, and it's
So
very much
how much are you guys going to be putting into the liquidity pair?
so the liquidity pair is effectively going to get half of our total amount of funds. It should be about $15,000 roughly. I believe that's about what's going to go in there. I may be off just a little bit and maybe closer to like 13. I can't remember the exact amount that we're going to have at the end of this because I think we started off with about 26. So yeah, the liquidity pair will probably only we'll probably only actually have about 13. The same thing for the race side of things. It'll probably only have about 13. Which is again part of the reason why we don't want to just like fully reallocate down to our split amount that we want to have because like the NFT bot, we really only want that to have roughly about 20 to about 30% of the funds at any given point in time. And as of right now, if we were to say launch, you know, we'd end up having closer to about like 80%, 85% of the funds in there. And we want to balance that out among the other, um, yield farming strategies that we have. So it's a whole process. It's a little bit complicated, but we're looking at basically, we're going to do some blue chip LP farming. We're going to do some staking, some lending. There are a couple of really lucrative lending platforms that are out there right now as well that we've done some math on, and they're actually something that we can't wait to kind of throw a bit more funds into because I've been testing out probably about 10 to 15 different strategies with at least about $50 a piece at a minimum. So it's kind of it's kind of got me checking a lot of stuff all at once. We're going to consolidate that down a little bit at the beginning here because, yield and returns on like $5, or I, sorry, let me rephrase that. Yield and returns on like $1,000 split 15 ways is considerably lower than what it would be if we centralize things a little bit at the beginning here. And then as we get those returns, we can kind of spread them out a little bit further. As those taxes kind of come in from the buys and sells, that's all going to go into the Ray at the beginning as well too. And we can just kind of balance some of those strategies out as time kind of goes on. So sorry for getting a little bit off there. My brain has still got a little bit of the COVID fuzz and trying to kind of work through stuff. But yes,
I think people are very excited about the bot. So
yeah,
if you guys ever choose to just keep a large portion in the bot, I don't think anybody will have a problem with that. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's why we're considering the bot in the long term is probably going to be about 25 to 30% of the total value. It's also possible we can kind of increase, decrease, adjust that as need be. Because if it ends up being a case where it just is, it's pulling some nasty returns of like 12, 15%, a month or something like that for a period of time, we may want to allocate a little bit more. And that's kind of the nice part about the strategies that we have set up as well too, is that since we're not getting into like long-term lock strategies for the most part, it's a case where we are pretty liquid when it comes to the strategies that we've been trying out. So like even with the LP farming and things like that we're planning on doing, we're not going to have to stake and keep things locked for like, 4 years or something like that. We've been able to kind of, set things up with V3 liquidity to be able to bypass a lot of those locks and things like that. And it's a risk that we don't really have to kind of take that a lot of other strategies have been using in the past, and then their funds are locked up for X period of time.
Right.
So with us, we've really kind of moved away from that as much as we possibly could. And we're kind of trying to focus a little more on, things such as like liquid staking or even protocols that allow us to, there's some lending protocols that are out there. Like a great one I'll give as an example here is like Radiant. That's one that we're heavily looking into because you can effectively lock up certain portions of like necessary liquidity, and then you can lend quite a bit more. And as long as you hit a certain threshold of uh, of locked liquidity to what you're lending, and it's like a ridiculously small amount, you can actually earn some pretty decent returns on those from things such as like Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, USDC. All of that is part of like the returns there. So it's a case where I think their lockup requirement is you have to have something like between like 3 to 5% of whatever the funds are. So like if you deposited $1,000, you have to have like $50 locked up effectively. So it's like the other 1,000 is still fully liquid and able to be used. And it's very much so like a drop in the hat kind of situation. It's like, okay, if something goes on and we decide that we no longer want to use this platform, we're only out $50 versus being out, so much more kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty awesome, some of the strategies that we've kind of like built up and kind of, put together here. So very exciting for a lot of those little things that we're going to be able to kind of do. Oh, you're muted, Oliver.
Darn it, I hadn't made that mistake yet. I was gonna say you're gonna have to break down like what the returns are on those, as soon as you guys can kind of get a bearing on that to get the community excited about that stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll actually I'll actually give you some quick math on that really quick. I in that instance I threw in about $50 worth and have that 5% offset locked up. And I've done about 30% in the last 6 months. Part of that is because sorry, part of that is because you're also, not only are you getting paid out in their form of token like RDNT, but you're also getting paid out in those other tokens as well too. So effectively, since it's a lending platform, we're also getting paid in like BTCB, Ethereum, USDT, USDC, and things like that, BUSD as well. And since those have increased in value, obviously not the three stable coins, but BTCB and Ethereum have both gone up in value. Even though we're earning effectively the same percentage return, because those have increased so much more. Normally the returns on about a 6-month period is about 18%, but because the value has increased as much as it has, I actually earn closer to about 30% on that. So, those are the kind of things strategy wise that we've kind of looked at where it's like, we're extremely low risk there. They have like circular lending capacity and stuff like that, where it's like you can lend to borrow to lend to borrow to lend kind of thing. And we're not doing any of that. We're just strictly doing lending, and that's it. We're not doing any kind of borrowing or any kind of like their circular platform. So in effect, we're not earning as much as we could with that, but it's a case where it's like virtually no risk. The biggest risk that we have in those kind of situations is like if the protocol were to go under. Or if they had some kind of crazy exploit or something like that. But that's some of the concepts and the ideas that we've been using to kind of really, figure out what earnings and where we can get them from and how we can stretch every penny to make a dollar kind of thing.
Well, very cool. Very cool.
And again, all of that to be safe and as low risk as possible as well. So I just want to make that clear. In some of these protocols that you may see that we're in, they may have options to be slightly more risky. We're not partaking in any of those at all in any way, shape, or form. So like, as I brought up with Radiant, they have their lend, borrow circular process. That will never be something that we do. just as an example. And that's part of the reason why, we have our risk strategy set up the way that we do is we want to be as careful and as secure with funds as we can possibly be. To
Mhm.
the only way that's something negative could happen would be if unfortunately there was some kind of a massive exploit, and then everybody's basically screwed at that point, you know. So I just wanted to again reiterate that really quick, just in case somebody missed that. Is like safety and security is of our utmost importance. That's part of, again, one of the reasons why, we've been partnered with the one team and everything is that they have that exact same mentality as we do. So just just to circle back to that, it's important to both teams.
Yep, yep, absolutely. I had a couple questions. If anybody has any questions about the NFT side or the Ray bot side, feel free to type them up in the chat. I have a couple questions. Um, First is for the bot. Do you know when the bot uses 100x leverage, or is that something that you guys set manually, or like does like what's the process for that? Because me and Lucky and Yanni were discussing that and wondering if you guys had used 100x leverage recently, and you didn't, and we were just wondering like when does that happen, or any
It
leverage?
it really kind of depends. More times than not, it comes down to how big of a position are we willing to open in terms of like risk. So it does not happen very often. There are some instances where we do go that route with it, but usually it's a case where I mean that's going to be like an extremely small trade if used at all. We try to kind of again, maintain kind of that, you know, for lack of better terms, that safety net. Because an example of such would be is like if we were using 100x leverage on every single trade that we did all the time,
Yeah,
um, it would be a case where if things started going a little bit sideways on us, it could very, very drastically cause us some harm very, very quickly. So, like
right.
as an example of such, 100x leverage, you could be liquidated with like a 10, 15, $20 move kind of thing.
Hmm.
So some of the stuff that we did is we opened up, when we were doing the longs, we opened up a couple of small micro trades that were like 100x leverage to kind of, grab a little something extra in terms of returns
Yeah.
at about that $2,000 mark. So we had one big one that we opened that had like almost no leverage on it. And then we had a couple of smaller ones that we opened with 100x leverage to, allow us to kind of take some early on profit as we were kind of closing out and liquidating some of the shorts as well. So yeah, it's not something where we're just kind of like brute forcing this and throwing thousands of dollars
Yeah.
in 100x leverage and like closing our eyes, crossing our fingers there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
All right. And the other question I had, I kind of have a little piggyback question to that. What's the most you can lose when you're using 100x leverage? You can lose more than
everything.
you. Okay. Well, I mean everything that you put into that one trade, or
No,
everything that
everything.
you
Like the entire of everything. You could
the
lose your entire
account.
account. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
That's
Okay.
that's why it's very rare and very few and far between that we do that.
I got you.
So it's a case where in our setup, the reason why we opened up a couple of those micro trades is it looked like things were moving up. And we opened the big bulk trade at about the $2,000 level when we started that hedged position. We also threw in a couple of small long ones as well too, because having those open would allow us to offset some of the shorts that we were trying to liquidate really quickly.
Hmm.
So we kind of did that so we could balance out the position a little bit faster and a little bit easier. And then that's when we saw that pop up to about that 2,300 level there. We were able to close out some of the shorts with some of those micro 100x leverage trades on the long side of thing and balance out those and liquidate a massive, massive chunk of the short position and get us into a much better position to easily flip to the long side of things. So it was
Cool.
it was a very, calculated risk that we took there with a very small amount of funds. Where again, since we already had the short positions open, we were fine the other direction with it.
Right.
They could not be liquidated due to the hedge that we had there. So we were fine in that position. But again, there were a lot of factors that had to line up for us to even consider doing that. And it wasn't a case where, we're just like, oh, yeah, we're just going to throw $1,000 in here at 100x and just YOLO it into next week. So yeah,
Yeah.
there was a
Um,
lot that had to line up there.
okay. And so like you were you saying that you guys are like one trade away from just giving it back to the bot to just start doing things business as usual?
Correct. Yeah. We've got a final long that needs to be closed out at about the 2,700 amount. Just to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's like 2,702 roughly.
Yeah.
I might be wrong there. It might be a little bit less than that.
Okay.
But right about there, and that should net us like I think it's like anywhere from 700 to $1,000, which will put us right back to where we need to be to get the V2 out the door.
Sweet.
So yep,
Sweet.
yep,
Um,
and then yes, to answer the second half of your question, that'll put us back to business as usual, bot trading on its own without us.
Great. Fantastic.
Yep.
My one other question was just to get your opinion, get your thoughts on it. What do you see happening with Ethereum when it goes from proof of work to proof of stake? Is that like a really big deal, or is that like not what everybody thinks it's going to be? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, if memory serves, I believe that should help with a lot of the gas issues that Ethereum kind of currently has. I might be wrong there. I think it could be a net positive because generally moving to like a proof of stake usually ends up relieving a lot of the issues in terms of like proof of work. Since proof of work basically kind of like kills a lot of the mining for the most part, and like general people aren't going to be, going through that nearly as much. But with that all kind of happening, oh yeah, Yanni's. I mean, he brought it up already in the chat. He's like, it's already happened. That's why you can't GPU mine anymore, and so that's exactly the case there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it'll put Ethereum in a better position going forward, and just kind of bring it almost to that even keel level with like Bitcoin, because a lot of people talk about Bitcoin in terms of like, hey, it's the gold standard, but there's a lot of things on the Ethereum side that are just as good as well too. I mean, its baseline functionality, the security that it has allowed for so many different layer twos that it just, I mean, if things can really only get better. I think Ethereum will have a massive resurgence if they can figure out a good way to get the gas costs down though. But yeah.
Wasn't I saw someone mention in your Discord something that's supposed to get the gas cost down?
Yeah, I saw something like that as well too. I don't remember exactly what they were
Yeah.
talking about there.
I don't know what it is. It had a weird name, but
Yeah, but it's some new system that's supposed to be coming out for it. But I think that'll be one of the biggest things is if you can get the gas cost down on Ethereum, there's so much money on Ethereum L1 where it's just, I mean, it's unimaginable, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
Like we talk about BSC, we talk about like Arbitrum and stuff like that for like a chain that's actively used the way that it is. I mean, Ethereum it's the place to be. It's the big dog. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, we're still going to be on Binance though. BSC with one token.
yeah, yeah.
We maybe if gas costs come down on Ethereum, we'll consider at some point years down the road moving over there. But it's a case where Binance Smart Chain is really kind of friendly. Very very easy to use. Most people, that's the chain that they generally start with as well too. Even kind of beyond that as well, gas costs are super super cheap compared to a lot of other
Yeah.
stuff that's out there. The only other thing that I consider like some kind of an option would be like some omni chain option where like as crazy as it sounds to say this, if we could run on some form of like a layer 0 or something like that, where it allows us to offshoot and farm things and then pay people out the way that they wanted to without having to like use somebody else's processes, that would be interesting. Maybe we'll
Mhm.
have to build that. I don't know. But yeah, no, it'll be BSC, and then with a lot of the interchain compatibility and stuff like that, I think we'll be able to farm on like other stuff like Arbitrum or a lot of these other new chains that are kind of up and coming, like Base has been pretty big as well too. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of stuff that's out there, Polygon, Avalanche, the whole 9 yards. Because
Cool.
really for us, the easiest process and the biggest thing that, we kind of consider important is like we want to be able to pay people in the tokens that they want, you know? So like the rewards that we earn, the rewards that we're going to pay out to people, we don't want them all to have to be on one chain. So like if we get to the point where like somebody wants AVAX or something like that, we want to be able to pay them out in that. If somebody wants XRP or Cosmos or something like that, we want to be able to pay them in that without having to, um, worry about like what chain we're specifically on. So we want to kind of, you know, eventually move that direction, allow Prisma holders to vote on like what tokens that or coins that we're going to add to the new vaults and stuff like that. So we can
Yeah.
really get people picking and choosing the stuff that they want. So like, um, eventually at some point in time, we'll kind of run that as a as an option for people where you can literally just go vote on like, hey, we want the next vault to be XRP, or we want the next vault to be, Dogecoin or something like that. I don't know. Like whatever. As long as people vote for it and that's what they want, we'll add it in. Um I don't have a time frame for like when that'll happen or that process, but yeah, it's definitely something where we want to be flexible and we want to give people what they want because there's nothing more frustrating than being paid out in something that you have absolutely no interest in being paid out in, which is generally a big issue with a lot of other protocols that are out there is like,
Yeah.
hey, when you buy something, you're getting paid out in this other token, which is arbitrary and doesn't really
Yeah.
have anything to do with anything. Liquidity sucks on it as well, too.
Mhm.
Um, and then, something else, there
Yeah.
aren't really ecosystems like the 1 token, 2 token, and 3 token ecosystem where they work hand in hand like that. I mean, I've seen so many other protocols where it's like you get paid out in this other nonsense token that's worthless, and you're just kind of like, great, I gotta sell 7,000 of these to make $1, and it's like this sucks. So yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Oh, well, awesome, man. Well, I was gonna try and keep this short, but this was going so well that we went 48 minutes.
well,
We held like over 20 people for most of this live stream. So that's pretty awesome.
it's the first time
Like,
where I'm not dying.
yeah, true. That was a big deal. That was a
Yeah,
big deal.
first comeback, first long one.
Yeah. I I'm looking at these settings down here. I mean, I could like hold on, I'm gonna click a button here. I can do that. I can do that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I can do.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out what any of that does, like what the reason for it is, but
Yeah, you
we
need to
can
get a
like
tutorial
totally,
from the Greek or something and
yeah.
get it
I
all
mean,
figured out.
goodness, I can be like, well, hold on, let's pull that up, and I can click that, and like some, oh man,
Yeah, I
it's
can
just gonna
even
get
I can
it's
even
gonna get out
present
of
on
hand.
my side as well. We can go through like
Yeah.
white paper stuff and everything like that.
Oh, that'd be
Speaking of
amazing.
which, within the next week, the white paper will be adjusted to reflect on the Prisma side of things. The white paper will be adjusted, to reflect the upcoming V2 setup. And all I mean by that is um, we're effectively just changing how the taxes are allocated for the first little bit here. Nothing is changing about the token amounts or anything like that. Still going to be 10 million. Allocation to the team is going to be exactly the same. allocation to one team is going to be exactly the same. Nothing's changing there. You know, pretty much everything else is going to go to the holders and go right into the liquidity pool.
Very cool.
We may rename one or two things, but that'll pretty much be it. So,
awesome.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for being here, Moongod. As always, we appreciate all the info that you gave us. Awesome. I'm very happy to hear everything is just moving along perfectly. Yes, Timmy said, please smash the like button for Oliver and Moongod. Thank you very much, Timmy. And so yeah, we will be doing our AMAs now on YouTube because this is wonderful. This format is so much easier than Discord and me trying to screen record and sounding like a robot. So this obviously will be uploaded to my YouTube channel right after this. So if you didn't catch everything, you can always watch the replay. So thank you everybody for being here. And Moongod, if you have any final words, feel free.
No, you guys are all awesome. Thank you for being so patient with us, especially myself while I've been recovering. Just want to again, express my gratitude here to the one team, for really kind of, jumping in and helping us out, answering a lot of questions. Well, I've been kind of out of commission because I know I'm usually the one that most of you guys speak with. So I really appreciate all the assistance there. Don't forget, everybody, dollar cost average your favorite tokens. We're getting into the bull run here. You want to start now. So that's it for me over here.
All right. Well, thanks, man. And so we will see you guys in the Discord. And that is it for this. So
all right. Catch you guys later.
See ya.